All right, everybody, welcome back for another deep dive with me. And as always, I've got an expert with me to help unpack some really interesting stuff.
Thanks for having me. It's great to be back.
Yeah, so, today we're looking at this article that came out on the Wall Street Journal called Jack Daniels Maker Faces New Headache, Canadian Liquor Bans.
Right. Yeah. Interesting stuff for sure.
And this really, got us thinking because it's not just about Jack Daniels, right? It's about sort of these global trends, these trade wars, this kind of stuff. So we wanted to take a look and really, kind of see what's going on in the world of liquor.
Absolutely. I think there's a lot to unpack here.
So the basic situation, right, is that we've got Brown-Forman. They're the ones that make Jack Daniels. They're kind of facing some unique challenges. First and foremost, tariffs are back. We thought we were done with this, but it seems like trade wars are heating up again.
Yeah, it's definitely a trend we're seeing, unfortunately.
Yeah. And it's not just tariffs, though, right? We're also seeing, like, shifting consumer demand. And that's kind of a whole other can of worms.
Absolutely.
But what really caught our eye, in this article was that Canadian provinces are, like, pulling American liquor off the shelves.
Yeah, they're basically saying no more Jack Daniels, no more American booze. It's pretty wild.
Yeah, and this is in, like, retaliation for U.S. tariffs on Canadian steel and aluminum.
Right. Tit for tat trade war stuff.
Exactly. And what's so fascinating about this is that Brown-Forman's CEO, Lawson Whiting, is calling this move worse than a tariff.
Yeah, so why would he see that, right? Because a tariff just makes things more expensive, but when they pull you off the shelves entirely, you're like locked out of the market.
You're just gone, right?
Oh, poof.
Yeah, it's not even a question of price anymore. It's just you can't buy it, period.
Can't even find it. Yeah, exactly. And I think that's what's so interesting here is that it really highlights the power that these governments have to just like shut you out.
To totally control access. Right. I mean, it's their market, so they make the rules, and it's like you're playing on their turf.
Absolutely. And it's a big wake-up call for companies like Brown-Forman who are so reliant on global trade.
So it's like a power play almost.
Right.
Right. It's Canada saying, all right, you want to play hardball with tariffs? Well, we'll just take our ball and go home.
Exactly. And it puts Brown-Forman in a really tough spot because what are they going to do? They can't really fight back against a government like that.
So it's not just about money at that point. It's about, like, geopolitical maneuvering and really understanding the complexities of these markets.
Totally. And I think it's a reminder that the world is a lot more interconnected than we sometimes think.
Yeah, right. One little tariff over here can lead to, like, liquor disappearing from shelves over there.
And who knows what the ripple effects are going to be down the line.
And it's not just Canada, right? We also saw that Canada actually slapped a 25% tariff on U.S. liquor imports, too.
Oh, yeah. That's right.
Yeah.
They're not messing around.
So it's like a double whammy, right? You
Yeah.
get kicked off the shelves, and then everything that's left gets way more expensive.
Talk about adding insult to injury.
So this is all happening, and I'm kind of curious, like, how big of a deal is Canada for Brown-Forman anyway? Are they, like, freaking out about this, or is it just a minor inconvenience?
Well, so from what we've seen in the data, Canada only makes up about 1% of their total sales. So
Okay, so not huge.
not huge, but still, every counts.
Right, and it's the principle of the thing, too. Like, if Canada can do it, who's to say other countries won't follow suit?
Exactly. It sets a precedent that's worrying.
So speaking of other countries,
Yeah.
This whole thing kind of made us think about Mexico, because that's a huge market for them, right?
Huge. Yeah. In 2024, Mexico represented about 7% of their sales. So a way bigger chunk than Canada.
And it's been like a growth market for them, too.
Absolutely. Yeah. They've been investing a lot in expanding their presence there.
So if Mexico were to, follow Canada's lead and implement these retaliatory measures, that could really hurt, right?
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah. That would be a significant blow for sure. It would cut off a major source of revenue and growth for them.
So we're already seeing, these geopolitical tensions playing out in the liquor market. And it kind of makes you wonder what else is going on, right? Like, are there other trends that are impacting this industry?
Oh, absolutely. You hit the nail on the head there. I mean, the global liquor market is facing a whole cocktail of challenges, so to speak.
Pun intended.
Uh-huh. Yeah, for sure. But seriously, one of the big things is shifting consumer tastes, especially in developed markets like the US, Canada, and Europe.
Like, people are getting more sophisticated with their drinking habits.
Yeah, exactly. They're becoming more discerning. They're looking for premium and craft spirits. They want something unique and authentic.
So, like, Jack Daniels isn't cutting it anymore.
Well, it's not that it's not good. It's just that it's not necessarily seen as trendy or exciting anymore.
It's like the avocado toast of the liquor world, right?
Oh,
Everyone loved it a few years ago, but now it's all about, like, artisanal seaweed snacks or something.
exactly. It's about perceived exclusivity, unique experiences, a sense of discovery, and that's putting pressure on these established brands like Jack Daniels to innovate and adapt.
So what are they doing? I mean, they can't just like reinvent whiskey overnight, can they?
Well, they're trying to diversify their portfolio.
Hmm.
They've acquired some craft brands, and they're pushing into new emerging markets like India and China, where whiskey is still gaining popularity.
So they're trying to kind of hedge their bets a little bit, spread the risk around.
Exactly. And it's a smart move, but it's not without its challenges.
Like what?
Well, for one thing, these new markets are very different from their traditional markets, so they have to learn how to appeal to these new consumers.
Right. It's not just a one-size-fits-all approach.
Nope. They have to tailor their marketing, their products, their whole strategy to each specific market.
And I imagine that gets pretty expensive, right? Like launching new brands, entering new markets, all that stuff.
It definitely adds up, and that's where the cost cutting comes in.
Ah, so they're having to tighten their belts a bit to free up resources for these new ventures.
Precisely, they've implemented some cost-cutting measures, including job cuts, which is never an easy decision.
No, of course not. But it shows how serious they are about adapting to these new realities.
Absolutely. They're trying to navigate this complex landscape of geopolitical uncertainty and evolving consumer preferences, and it requires strategic maneuvering.
So it's like a balancing act.
Right, yeah.
They're trying to stay ahead of the curve, but they also have to be mindful of the bottom line.
Exactly, and it'll be interesting to see how they manage it all in the long run.
So what does all this mean for Brown-Forman in the future? And honestly, what does it mean for us whiskey drinkers? Should we be stockpiling Jack Daniels before it becomes a rare commodity?
Well, I don't think we need to start hoarding whiskey just yet. Brown-Forman is still projecting sales growth of 2–4% for 2025.
Okay, so they're not going anywhere.
Not at all. They're a resilient company with a long history.
But this whole situation definitely highlights how interconnected the global market is.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, decisions made by governments, shifts in consumer preferences, even seemingly small things can have ripple effects across industries and borders.
So we might see some price fluctuations, maybe some new brands popping up, or even some old favorites becoming harder to find.
It's definitely a possibility.
And it's a reminder that what we sip on isn't just about taste. It's also about economics, politics, and global trends.
It really makes you think, doesn't it? If these trade disputes and market shifts can impact something as seemingly simple as a bottle of whiskey, what other industries might be affected in the future, and how will those changes ripple down to us, the consumers? It's definitely something to ponder over your next drink.
Absolutely. Cheers to that.
Cheers.
Well, thanks so much for joining me today for this deep dive. It's always great to have you on.
My pleasure. Thanks for having me.
All right, everyone. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you next time for another deep dive.